We're going to talk about week 10 and tobacco. First, I want to go over the midterms and the results. I thought you guys did great as a group. The goals of the week, we're going to talk about tobacco addictive properties and effects. At the very end, I'm going to give you an extra credit question. And and I'm going to post it in there so that you can go back. And if you want to take advantage of that, you can. I'm going to say it at the very end. And then we're going to have a chapter review that you always have. Those will be open. I have a discussion post on tobacco. I want you to give me some ideas for a public awareness campaign. And I'm going to go over that. And then also I want to let you know that next week is spring break in case you didn't know. Use this week to catch up. I will reopen the chapter reviews so that you can use this week to catch up. Or if you're one of those people who like to spring ahead, you can. Or if you want to take the whole week off, you can. Obviously, that's up to you. If you're all caught up, it will feel great. You can have a break. But if you're not caught up, use it to get caught up. All right? Or go ahead and look ahead. Your choice. You have choices next week. This is exciting. Okay, so moving on. Let's talk about, I know I want to definitely show you the trends for the midterm. What I found is that overall as a class, you guys did great. Let's see here. Midterm. The reflections were wonderful. That was one of my favorite assignments ever to read. You guys did a phenomenal job and very insightful, very thoughtful. You gave me some great articles that I'm going to incorporate into this class. Can I just say gold star? Excellent. That's me clapping over here. Wonderful, okay? And know that I don't give out claps and gold stars randomly. Know that this is like you did phenomenal, okay? You guys all did great. So let me show you the quiz statistics here. So you can see how kind of like as a class as you did. The average score was, I believe, IB. I'm waiting for this to come up. Come on. Looks like it's having a hard time. Yep, it was a high B. So you could see that we had a couple people really nail it there, which is great. And overall, the trends of the questions is you guys did a really good job. So congratulations. So let me go back to the module. And I can tell you that for your final exam, I will go back to the midterm and I will pull things that people struggled in. And I'll give you, don't worry, I'll give you a review so that you'll know these. And then there will definitely be a study guide for your final. I also wanted to point out that in your overview, I just saw a typo. I'll fix that later. Actually, I'll fix it right now. Right now, live on, see, this is the power I have to fix it. It doesn't do a spell check in the title there. So there we go. Good. Overview. Now, let's see. Also, I want to let you know that when if you spring ahead, I will be posting something during spring break so you can start percolating on it on your final project. I also am going to make the hackathon an extra credit opportunity for this class. But I'm going to post all that information prior to spring break so you can think about it. Okay, so, but right now, just want you to know that will be coming. Okay, so let's go over tobacco. So we're going to be talking about tobacco. I love this graphic here. It's a cigarette with a bullet there. You need to know that tobacco has been in the United States for a long time. Since the early 1800s when cigars became very popular. Do you recognize this plant? This is a tobacco plant. And what's really interesting is that I used to work in North Carolina and I would drive through these tobacco plants. It was very, very much product there. And they grew very big, these huge, large tobacco plants. And then you see Nicotina tabacum, or tobacco plant. Here's the big thing you need to know is that from that tobacco plant, they create cigarettes, obviously. And in 1994, they started to show that tobacco was completely related to lung cancer, and we started to see the warning labels come in. 1970s, the warning labels came in strong. We know that tobacco and nicotine nicotine is the addictive part, but tobacco is the part that really can cause cancer, all types of cancer, very much correlated to cancer. In Kern County, we're at 21%. 21% of Kern County say that they report they're smokers. This is only 12% to California, and we're kind of trending towards the United States. But you need to know that we have more smokers here than the rest of the United States. And they can actually correlate tobacco and death. So it's a very costly industry. If you think about healthcare cost, $96.7 billion, and the tobacco industry does $8.5 billion, $30 million a day. Wow. Okay, so let's talk about the addictive properties of nicotine. Nicotine has the neurotransmitters that you recognize in heroin. Nicotine also has the neurotransmitters that you see in cocaine. And these are all the neurotransmitters that are being stimulated by nicotine. And what you need to know is that what I think is very interesting is that the vasopressin and the memory improvement and the adrenaline boost that people get with smoking and getting exposed to nicotine really make it a very addictive drug. So here are the things. You need to know that it stimulates the dopamine release, and it also stimulates the cardiovascular system. Here's one of the big things that also why people smoke. People say they smoke because number one reason why is it reduces stress. And then social pressure next. So if we go back to this, you could see how smoking could reduce stress and actually could help a student focus more on a test. But there's a downside to this. And of course, you guys know that nicotine's addictive, but also there's the tar component that's very damaging on the lungs. It's caused more death each year by tobacco than anything, all these other areas. So it's really costly. What I find very interesting is that you can actually see the per capita consumption in the United States, and look how it was really high during World War II when it started to increase. In the 1960s, it's like almost over 40% of the whole population was smoking. But then we started to have things like non-smoker rights. We started to have secondhand smoke. FDA came in. We had all these different control acts come in. And then taxes started to come in, and we started to see a decrease. So one of the big things is that what percentage of children recognize the camel effect? And look, the answer is already there, 91%. So that is the reason why they initiated the Family Smoking Prevention and Tobacco Control Act, was to start saying, hey, if you're targeting children, which the tobacco industry had documentation that they were doing that, because remember, people are dying, so they have to replace the smokers with new smokers. So they started to make cartoonish things. And 91% of children, when they showed Mickey Mouse along the camel figure, children recognized the camel figure. And so this is what happened. See this camel figure now? He's gone from the package. You do not have this. So what the major limitation settlement agreements was limitations on advertising, ban on cartoon characters in advertising, ban on merchandising, ban on sportsmanships of sponsoring events, disbanded tobacco trading organizations, and support an anti-smoking measure. And I know one of the big things that people were often asking is, aren't we doing this with alcohol too? Well, that's a whole nother thing, but I can tell you that this was a big, huge fight. They had to sue the industry to get this because they found the correlation between smoking and cancer. And that's where the strength came in with that research. This was huge in the public health area, huge. So it also gave FDA regulation rights. And so they started to be able to regulate manufacturing, distributing, and marketing of tobacco products. So now that was big. So let's talk about nicotine. Okay. So nicotine is colorless, highly volatile liquid, right? Which means it can change properties really quickly. When smoked, nicotine enters the lungs and is absorbed into the bloodstream. Nicotine is the addictive property in the cigarette products and e-devices also. When chewed, dipped, nicotine is absorbed through the mucous lining of the mouth. So it really depends on the tobacco and how much nicotine is in the tobacco, how much tobacco is packed in the cigarette, whether there's a filter, and then how much smoke is inhaled. And of course, the number of cigarettes that are smoked. So someone might say, hey, I am using a light cigarette, but they smoke like 10 of these cigarettes a day. They are getting a high dosage of nicotine with all of that. So here, name the effects. I'd like for you to give a fact on the following. In your head, I want you to look this up. What's the effect of nicotine on cardiovascular diseases? Well, we know that nicotine increases cardiovascular. So how does smoking impact altogether cardiovascular disease? If it's raising up the cardiovascular system, what is it doing to the heart? Okay, it's pushing the heart more. What about cancer? If you read up on the book, you're going to start seeing the effects of cancer and how it increases cancer. How about bronchopulmonary diseases? How about effects on pregnancy? What is it doing to the fetus when someone is smoking? What is it doing? How much oxygen is the baby or the fetus getting in as the mother's developing? So here are the different types of cigarettes types. We have light cigarettes, which reduce the nicotine level. We have e-cigarettes, which reduce the nicotine level, but still have a lot of respiratory byproducts and effects on the body. Chew, there's secondhand smoke, and this is something that really people need to understand, is that secondhand smoke and something called third-hand smoke are an issue. And so you can compare these, and you will see that people are still getting exposed to nicotine and the carcinogenic effects of tobacco. So here's the thing about light cigarettes. We know that there's no evidence showing that it actually is associated with low tar, that it actually reduces health risk. We know that filtered cigarettes do reduce levels of tar, nicotine, and carbon monoxide, but they still have limited benefits. And then we know that people still smoke and still do this with light cigarettes. Now, e-cigarettes, they're still debating about this, but I can tell you that with e-cigarettes, there's still a problem. And then tobacco use without smoking. I want to go back to these e-cigarettes real quick too. I want to tell you that there's evidence showing that the nicotine levels are just as high in a room when you have e-cigarettes vaping, because the nicotine levels actually start to go high in that room, and people still get exposed to a lot of respiratory irritants. That's the word I want to use. Respiratory chemicals and carcinogenic things in the e-cigarettes. So they're doing research on this, but I want to really say that e-cigarettes are a respiratory problem. And then tobacco use without smoking. There's still problems with this, and there are a lot of cancer-causing agents within smokeless tobacco. Secondhand smoke, passive smoke. People are still at risk for heart disease, and for respiratory problems with secondhand smoke. And that's the reason why we've had to do smoke-free campuses, smoke-free restaurants, smoke-free bars. It's not because people are against smokers, but because secondhand smoke is a problem because it's exposing other people to all those risks. There's something called sensation classes. And what's the thing is that sensation comes in and actually starts to help people learn how to quit smoking. And if you're interested in being trained and being a sensation facilitator, where you could maybe get paid for it, there might be a grant for it. You'd have to go through a one-day training. You can Canvas message me if you're interested in this, and this is extra credit. You could say, I'm interested in sensation classes, or I heard about the sensation classes that you mentioned here, and it's called not. Okay, so I will post that extra credit question in there. So here's the benefits of sensation. It really helps the person start to learn how to get off of smoking. Okay, and they do things from anywhere from learning how to do that, learning techniques, and pulling off of this. And then once people get off of it, the respiratory illnesses can just completely, within days, the body starts to repair. Okay. People can also do things where they can do nicotine gum, patches, spray, lozenges. They can also get medication to start weaning them off of nicotine. Now, here's the thing is they have to get off of the nicotine gum at one point, the nicotine patch, the spray, because believe it or not, people can actually get addicted to the nicotine gum into these things. So they really need to get off of this eventually. So make sure you go through this and learn these. The quiz challenge. I am going to post, actually, I'm going to go ahead and give you a quiz challenge here too. So first you had the opportunity to possibly be a facilitator. You could tell me a little bit about that. But here's your quiz challenge question. I want you to name for me, and here I'm going to go ahead and type it in here. What is the addictive property of tobacco? What is the addictive? Well, actually, I'm just not going to type it in here. I'm just going to say it out loud. What is the addictive property of tobacco? And then, ready? I'm going to get this back up. The second question is I want you to name 3 ways someone can quit smoking. 3 ways. Getting off smoking, getting off tobacco. It could be an e-device, getting off an e-device, getting off of smokeless tobacco. But you need to name 3 strategies. Okay, so what is the addictive property of tobacco? And name 3 ways someone can get off. That's extra credit. All right? So let me go back here. I am going to be posting the extra credit question right here, so you can go back and you can post in there. And let me go over this last item here too. This is your discussion question for this week. I want you to come up with, and this is for points. The other items were just extra credit, okay? So this is the actual thing that's worth 10 points this week. After listening to the lecture and reading the book chapter, answer the following questions. Actually, it's more like propose. You work at a local health department and you've been asked to implement a public awareness campaign to target youth and teens. Your boss has given you a budget of $30,000, so you can do a campaign from billboards, public service announcements, on TV, movie theaters, and posters. Be creative. First, what one message would you focus your campaign on? It cannot be more than one idea only. So you could do the smoking effects, you could do where to go get smoking cessation classes, secondhand smoking dangers, cigarette butts are trash, addictive part of smoking, e-cigs dangers. Okay, only one focus area, because you see when you're doing that, if you do many things, you lose your messaging. What points would you like to get across? Remember, less is more. Less. 1 to 2 points maximum, and I'll explain what I mean by that a little bit in this post. But what I mean is that you would say, I'm going to hit on smoking effects, and I'm going to target the addictive property of nicotine only. And then what medium would you use? Would you use social media ads, a movie theater, public service announcements? Tell me how you would do that. Now, I'm going to have you post, and I turned on the like feature. So I want you to go through and kind of comment on each other's about what you like, what ideas you have, and I look forward to reading those. Okay? So I'm going to definitely post that in there too, that you need to do that. If you have any questions or any comments, make sure that you Canvas message me, and I will be having office hours this week. So feel free to jump in on a chat session at 7 o'clock on Monday. Feel free to Canvas message me any questions. Okay, great. Have a great week.